All right, good Tavach, everyone. This is actually the third time I'm learning the final two Mishnayos in Kerisos. The first time I did it in my shul, Kerisos Bezev, on Shabbos, and then the second time I did it for my Zoomers and for Kol HaLashon, but I left off the camera. So now I'm doing it special for TorahAnytime.com and for YouTube. As I'm being Hamish, I can tell you that we are looking for sponsors. If you would like to sponsor the second Haggadah Shir, the first Haggadah Shir is already called Starting the Haggadah, is last week, and now the second Haggadah Shir will be this Wednesday. If you want to be a sponsor, it's $360. A diamond sponsor is $540. It goes all over the world, really all over the world. 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. And also I want to remind you that if you haven't joined the ranks of dailygiving.org, it's an absolutely wonderful thing to do. Every day, a different world-class tzedakah, whether it's a time, whether it's OL, whether it's TorahAnytime.com, whether it's Misaskim, whether it's United Hatzalah, whether it's Zaka, whether it's Efrat. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing way to give tzedakah. Make sure that every day of the year you're giving to a sensational tzedakah, and it's not just, it's $1. That those dollars already add up, that each of these organizations are getting more than $24,000 every day that they're getting it. Okay, so we're up to Mishna Ches in the 6th parak. If you set aside money to buy a lamb, Mevia mehektish kizba seira, you could divert the money that you set aside for a lamb and buy a goat, or vice versa. Mehektish seira, money that you set aside for a goat, kezba, you could divert to a lamb. Now, if it's a carbon oil of a yored, that's a sliding scale carbon, like for Tumas Mikdash or Kedoshev, somebody entered Mikdash while Tami, or ate Kachim, Tumas Haguf, B'Shaygeg, so he brings a carbon oil of a yored depending on his financial status. If he's wealthy, he brings an animal. If not, he brings 2 birds, and if he's really poor, he brings a mincha. So, mehektish kizbo seira, he could divert from a lamb or a goat, tyrin b'nei yaina, to buy turtle doves or pigeons if he became poor. And mehektish tyrin b'nei yaina, if he was in the middle bracket, and then he became poorer, he could divert it to an asiris ha'efa, and the rest of the money goes out to chulin. Ketzad, here the Gemara just speaks out what I just told you. Hifrish lekizbo l'seira, if he set aside money for a lamb or a goat, ha'ani, and he became poorer, and it's a carbon oil of a yored, yavi oif, he could divert it for a bird. Ha'ani, if he became even poorer, yavi asiris ha'efa, he brings 1/10 of an efa for a mincha. Now it goes the other way also. If he was poor, hifrish la'asiris ha'efa, and then he came into some money, Hashir, he could add money to it and yavi oif and bring a bird. Hashir, if it came into more money, he could add more money to it and yavi kizba usir, he could bring a lamb or a goat. Now, if hifrish kizba usir, he separated a sheep or a lamb in his stove and it got a mum, then he redeems it. If he became poor, imratzi yavi b'demeyim oif, he could divert the money for a bird. However, hifrish oif v'nistov, if he separated a bird and it got a mum, now not a regular mum, because ain't tamas v'zachris b'oifus. Oif is not disqualified with a regular mum, just like there's no gender by an oif. But v'nistov over here means it became a chusar aver, missing a limb. Here, he can't use the money to buy a meal offering, because you can't redeem a bird offering. Lo yavi b'dam of asiris ha'efa she'ein la'oif pidyon. This is a special halacha by a bird that there's no redemption for a bird that's kodesh. Now Rabbi Shimon Aimer, for the final Mishnah, kvasim kaidmin le'izim b'chol makom. In most places in the Torah, it says keves and then eis, keves and then soir. We would think that therefore sheep are preferable to goats. That the lamb is more preferable, and that if you say a carbon, it's better to bring a lamb. Talmud Leimer, it says one time by Chatas, you should bring a goat. V'im kevis yabi karbanai lechatas, and if you bring a sheep, so there it says goat first. Malamit sheshneim shkulim. That's why, like it says, sometimes it says Moshe and Aaron, sometimes it says Aaron and Moshe, to tell us that they're equal. Similarly, throughout the whole Torah, Torah kaidman l'bnei yaina, turtle doves precede pigeons. B'chol makom. Yachol mipnei sheim umchar mehem. I might think that the mature turtle doves are superior. Talmud in one place it says ven yaina oisar. It prefaces first the pigeon and then the turtle dove. L'chatas. Malamit sheshnein shkulim. They're both equal. You could bring either a turtle dove or a pigeon. There's no preference. Ha'av kaidem la'ein b'chol makom. Most places in the Torah it says the father before the mother. Kaberes vicha v'esimecha maka aviv v'imay mekala aviv v'imay. I might think Yachol shekavod oiv oidef al kvodeim, that it's more important to honor the father than the mother. Talmud Leimer, it says ish imay v'aviv tiro. There it says the mother first by reverence. Malamet sheshneim shkulim. You have to give them both. Without either of them, you wouldn't be here in this world. However, aval amru chachamim that ha'ov koidim le'ein, the father comes before the mother b'chol makom. In other words, if let's say your father and mother are together, and your father and mother ask you to do two different things at the same time, you do your father's bidding first. Because you and your mother are chayav for the covenant of the father. Of course, this is only if your father and mother are married. If they're divorced, then they have equal status, because then the mother is not chayav in the covenant of the father. The Chaim b'Talmud Torah. Same thing is true with a Rebbe. If a son merited to learn the majority of his learning from a Rebbe, then, and his father is not a Talmud Chacham, then harav koidem es ha'av b'chol makom. The Rebbe comes before the father to return his lost article, to ransom him, because mipnei shehu v'aviv chayav mikvay rabbi. Because both he and his father is chayiv in the covenant of the Rebbe. If his father is Talmud Chacham, however, even if not as great a Talmud Chacham as the Rebbe, then he does his father first. Another reason is given because his father brings him into this world, while the Rebbe brings him into the next world. Hadru lach mesechtes Kerisos, Hadru lach mesechtes Kerisos, Hadru lach mesechtes Kerisos. Mazel tov, everyone.